Dear students of HSC class in Rajshahi College, good afternoon to all. Today I will discuss a different issue of English language, as all the necessary grammatical items for English second paper preparation for the HSC students have been discussed more than once in this class. Original discussions and revisions of those discussions are already done here. I think we need to have some advanced discussions in the online classes for HSC students. Today I will discuss the rules of, or rather the structures of, sentence construction in English language. Well, we have been learning English, using English, and we have been giving examinations on of English papers since our very early days of education. But in Bangladesh, I have seen many educated people constructing sentences in wrong ways. When asked, people often tell me that vocabulary is the main problem for constructing sentences. One thing, try to follow my lectures and you will see that I am not using any word which are not known to the common students. Therefore, it is natural and proved that one does not need a lot of words, a huge number of words to express himself or herself. We can use English easily, we can express our mind, our attitude, our expressions easily in English language with the words we have already learned. The main problem exists in the use of the words properly. Rather, sometimes there is a difficulty or limitation among the users of English in Bangladesh exists in the knowledge of proper placing of the words or phrases in the sentences, along with the other problems such as the determining the correct form of verbs, etc. So, in today's online class, I will very briefly discuss the structures and thereby the rules of English sentence constructions. One thing to be remembered here that I will discuss the structures very briefly, and I will take the help of the things discussed in different previous classes. If you can remember the definitions of the grammatical items or terms discussed in the previous classes, that will help you understand this class better. So, first let us see how sentences are made. Depending on the mood of the speaker or writer, depending on the attitude and motive of the speaker, English sentences are constructed differently. And again, there exists a difference between the expression of formal English and informal English. For example, if one asks a question, where he goes, the listener can the listener can understand what the speaker or what the questioner wants to know or wants to express, and thus the listener can give an answer. But this is not grammatically correct expression. This is called informal English. To express the same thing, same feeling, same query or question in a formal way, we need to present the question in a formal structure with an auxiliary verb, and the main verb or the finite verb in the correct form. This is the formal English. Still, there is a wrong idea about English sentences among our population, among our people. Some are in the opinion that informal English does not bother for any grammatical rules, etc. Well, to a little extent, I agree with these people who hold that informal English does not care for any grammatical rules, etc. But to a greater extent, in the true sense, informal English also needs the minimum grammatical accuracy, and what is more important, in an informal language, vocabulary is a very important thing. You know, vocabulary means the stock of words, and well, either in informal English or informal English, wrong vocabulary is a fatal error for the English users. For example, you know the common meaning of the word cry. In Bangla, you know the meaning of cry is kada, not kanna. Sometimes I hear people telling cry means kanna. No, kanna is a noun and cry is a verb. Kada is a verb, therefore kada is the right one. Cry never means kanna. Cry always means kada. This is the magic of vocabulary, and we need to select a proper vocabulary, correct vocabulary in our English expressions. Therefore, whatever may be the number of words you know, you may have a very limited vocabulary, but try to know the correct use of the words you know. Well, what I was telling, when we say cry, it gives a meaning. Similarly, weep is another type of cry. Sob is another type of that cry which we mean in Bangla, and scream is another different type of cry. Thus, in Bangla, we use a single word kada for the English words cry, weep, sob, scream. In Bangla language, this is not a problem at all or not an error to use this single word kada in all the cases. But when we express something in English, we need to choose the correct word for the expression of the feelings or attitude or idea or query in an English sentence. Therefore, always try to follow the meanings and the uses of English words. Whatever maybe they are in number in your stock or in your vocabulary, but try to know the proper meaning and use of the words. Otherwise, that will be considered a wrong use, and even if you express your English in correct, grammatically correct or structurally correct sentences, if you do not have the use of the proper words, that is called bad English. And therefore, we need to understand the difference between bad English and wrong English. Wrong English means the English written in wrong structure or wrong construction. Wrong English means wrong structure, error in the construction. And bad English means error in vocabulary. Very briefly, we can say that bad English means errors in the use of the vocabulary, and wrong English means errors in sentence construction. Let us go back to the topic of today's class. As I had told, today I will discuss the structures of different types of English sentences. You know, depending on the attitude and motive of the speaker, English sentences or English is expressed in 5 basic patterns. I repeat, depending on the attitude or motive of the speaker, English sentences are presented in 5 ways, 5 structures basically, or 5 patterns, and they are called assertive sentences, interrogative sentences, imperative sentences, operative sentences, and exclamatory sentences. Conventionally, whenever we speak about the elements in a sentence, we always tell that we have subject, verb and object in the sentences. In a previous class or two, I showed you that apart from these elements, there are other elements also in the English sentences or clauses. And rather we will call them elements or units. Each of the elements make a unit in the sentences. And you need to remember that a unit means a parts of speech when in a single word or a phrase, a group of words making a single unit. Well, in English sentences we have different units or elements, or we call the elements used in English sentences as the units in the sentences. A unit sometimes means a parts of speech when it is in a single word, or a phrase that is, or in a phrase that is in a group of words making a single unit. For example, if we analyze this sentence, he came in the morning he came today. Look at the phrase in the morning and the word today. Both in the morning and today make individual units in a sentence. Today is in a single word, therefore this unit is presented in a parts of speech. And in the morning, this unit is presented in a group of words, that is why it is called a phrase. Both are the individual and independent units in a sentence or in a clause. Well, my object is to show you in which pattern of sentence what unit or element is used at the proper position or place in that clause or sentence. Before going for the formal structure of different types of sentences, let us see the units used in a sentence. Very normally we have subject, object, Well, rather we should use the finite verb at the first, subject, object, complement, adverb, present, well, present or past participles, and infinitives. Sometimes we considered gerund as a unit of a sentence. In fact, gerund means a verbal noun or an adjective or an adjective substitute. Gerund means a verbal noun or an adjective substitutes. For example, swimming is good for health. Here, swimming is the gerund form of the verb swim. The difference is that swimming functions as the subject of the noun, and there is always a noun as a subject of the sentence. Therefore, swimming is a verbal noun making the subject of this sentence. Again, this is a swimming pool. Once again, the original verb, basic verb, swim is used with an additional ing in the sentence. This is a swimming pool. Here, swimming is modifying the head word or noun pool. Therefore, this is an adjective substitute. And gerund means the use of a verb with ing as an adjective substitute. And gerund is thus not the unit in a sentence. Gerund is the grammatical name of the use of a form of verb when used as a noun or an adjective substitute. So, when we mean the units of sentences, we mean only these units as I have written on the board: finite verbs, subjects, objects, complements, adverbs, present or past participles, and infinitives. Among these three, when they are used as units, they are presented in the forms of phrases. And the rest ones can be presented either in the forms of parts of speech, that is, in a parts of speech means in a single word or they can be used in phrases, means a group of words making a single unit. There is a practice in our country that we consider that idioms and phrases make the same meaning, but they are but actually in reality they are not the same ideas. In a phrase, of course, phrase means a group of words. In that sense, all idioms are also phrases, but we cannot call all phrases idioms. When the words in a phrase sustain their meanings, I repeat, sustain their meanings, it is called a phrase. And when the words in the phrase lost their meanings and there comes a third meaning from that combination of words, it is called an idiom. For example, when I say I came last night, I came last night. Last night makes a unit of a sentence, adverb, and since it is in more than one words, that is, the words last and night make this unit, it is presented in the phrase form and hence we call it adverb phrase. But when we call he is the black sheep, black sheep, in his family. Look, we have two units in this sentence making two phrases, in his family and the black sheep. The words like his, in or family sustain their meanings in this phrase, but the black sheep means something different. The black sheep does not mean that he is black nor that he is a sheep. Both of the meaning makes the sense of something scandalous. Scandalous, or rather we should say black sheep means notorious. Person, a notorious person, or some negative senses are related with the phrase black sheep. This phrase black sheep and similar phrases in which the words lost their meanings and make a new meaning in the combination of more than one words. Such type of phrases are called idioms, and when the words in a phrase sustain their original meanings, bear the same sense or the original sense, they are called phrases. And since in this phrase we have the words sustaining their meanings, we call these group or combination of words as phrases. So, let us see how the elements are placed in different types of sentences. Strange enough that I have written finite at the very beginning of the checklist of the elements or units in a sentence. I have written it because we have a particular pattern of sentences which begins with the finite verb. And this is not true, which we have learned so far, that all types of sentences begin with the subject of the sentences. Actually, only assertive sentences begin with the subject, and the other forms of other patterns of sentences begins with different units in that sentence. For I am briefly giving you the ideas about the sentences. As far as assertive sentence is concerned, the structure of the assertive sentence is like this one. Structure. First we get subject, finite verb, with or without an auxiliary. Then we have the other units or elements like object, object means a noun or noun phrase which can be used as the subject when the sentence or clause is made passive, or complement means a noun or an adjective or a noun phrase or an adjective phrase which gives the identification or which modifies the subject, or adverb where, when, how, why, or how long, how far the verb is done. And we also have participle phrases like present participle or past participle and infinitives. One important thing is that in an assertive sentence, only adverbs, present participles and infinitives can be used either at the beginning of the clause or the sentence, or they can be used after the object or the complement. For example, I met him last night. I is the subject, met finite verb, him object, last night adverb. The adverb can be used at the beginning of this sentence. Last night I met him. But except this adverb or present participle phrases, sometimes or infinitives, you cannot use the other units such as the subject, finite verb or object or complement in any other alternative position or place in that clause. The units like subject, finite verbs, objects and complements should be structurally presented in a continuous structure, and you can have relaxation only in the presentation of adverbs, participle phrases and infinitives while you construct a sentence. And now we will see the structure of the imperatives, interrogative sentences. You know, an interrogative sentence is suggestive of some queries or questions. For example, you may have some query to someone. They are presented in different forms. Sometimes such a sentence begins with an auxiliary verb. Sometimes with a be verb. And sometimes with a relative pronoun which we popularly know as WH questions. Where does he live? So, in all the cases when it begins with an auxiliary verb, we have the structure auxiliary verb, then subject, then finite verb, and then comes the other elements like complement, adverb, object, participles, or infinitives. When we have a sentence to know the meaning, to know the question of some query, we have the sentence as linking verb. Linking verb is a type of finite verb. Finite verb or linking verb, subject, and always remember that when an interrogative sentence begins with a linking verb, or which popularly we call be verbs, they always take a complement after the subject. For example, here we have are you sick? Sick is the complement of the subject you. Is he poor? Poor functions as the subject as the complement of subject he. And finally we have the WH questions beginning with a WH plus auxiliary verb plus subject plus finite verb. And in all the interrogative sentences, after these units there may come either or more than one of these elements. For example, can I go with him tomorrow? Look at the elements of these sentences. Can is the auxiliary verb, I is the subject, go is the finite verb, with him is a prepositional phrase functioning as adverb. It replies how the verb go is done. Up, how the finite verb go is performed, and tomorrow is adverb of time. Look at the structure of the first type of interrogative sentence. The first type of interrogative sentence begins with auxiliary verb, then comes the subject, then finite verb, then adverb. The finite verb is followed by two different adverbs. What is there? Auxiliary verb, subject, finite verb, and then I have told either of the units of complement, adverb, objects, or participles or infinitive. We have two different adverbs in this sentence at the end of this sentence. So our time is running fast. I have three more types of sentences to discuss in next 15 minutes. Therefore, I am going for more brief presentation now. We have then imperative sentences. Usually in Bangladesh, in our grammar classes, we are told that we have the imperative sentences beginning with the verb, basic form of verb, which is actually the finite verb in this clause, do the sum. It means an instruction, order, might be advice or might be request, depending on an adverb added with the clause. For example, if we write do the sum please, the sentence implies a request. Do the sum at once, this implies an order. And do the sum every day, it is an instruction. So depending on every day, on the adverb used at the end of the imperative sentence, depends the sense of the depends on the sense of the adverbs used at the end of the imperative sentences make the sense of the imperative sentence. When we use words like every day, we mean an instruction. When we use a phrase at the end of an interrogative sentence, imperative sentence, such as at once, we mean an order. And when we use a word like please, we mean a request expressed in that imperative sentence. This is the usual pattern of imperative sentences, beginning with finite verb in the base form, sometimes with don't, which is an auxiliary verb. And in such a sentence, sometimes instead of using the auxiliary verb done, to use the adverb never. I am citing some examples. Then we have the other elements such as adverb or object or participles or infinitives. Carefully look that in both interrogative and assertive sentences, I showed you the use of complements, but in the imperative sentence, I have presented 4 types of extensions such as adverbs, objects, participles or infinitives, because since the subject in the imperative sentence is always implicit, there is no question of such types of sentences having any complement at all. And we have some sentences with let, which means a proposal. Such proposals are also made in the imperative sentences. Let's or let us do it. In very few books or in very few English classes, such sentences beginning with let are defined as imperative sentences. When the subject is in the form of the object of the first person singular plural number, let's or let us, the concept is not made clear. But when we write a structure like this one, let him go there, the imperative sense of this sentence is also is very clearly understood. Let him go there. When we give such an expression, the imperative sense of this senses, the imperative sense of this sentence is very clearly understood. Thus, we have two structures of imperative sentences. One beginning with the base form of verb, then adverb or object or participles or infinitives, and the second pattern begins with sometimes it may begin with never or don't, and there comes the base form of verb. Don't go there or go there, never do this or do this, and sometimes let with the object of first or third persons let us or let him, let them. That is, both all the expressions like us, him or them are the objects form with the object of first and first persons plus base form of finite verb plus again adverb, complement, participles, and infinitives. And now, I am afraid I may take 3 to 5 minutes more than the fixed time of for this class. Now, let us look at the structure of operative expressing hope or wish. Sentences. Usually they begin with the modals may, sometimes if, sometimes with may, if, had. May he prosper in life if I had the wings of a dove. Had he been or had he gone there, he might get something. So operative sentence begin with either may or if or had. Then comes the subject. Plus the other elements like object, adverb, after subject there comes the finite verb in the basic form, then comes object, adverb, participles, and infinitives. I am writing a few examples of operative sentences. May Allah bless you. Look, in an assertive sentence, since the subject is a third person singular word, we would use bless with an additional s or es if it was written in the present indefinite form, or if the verb was in the past indefinite form in an assertive sentence, we would use the past form of the verb bless, but because of the presence of a word may, a modal may, we have an operative structure of this sentence. Well, if there had been a note of interrogation, may he come, only because of the use of note of interrogation, this sentence would be an interrogative one. And simply if there was only a full stop at the end of this sentence, may he come, or rather we should use another word, may he prosper. Because of the absence of the note of interrogation, both of the sentences have the same structure and they are called operative sentences. And if he were there, or had I the wings of a dove. All these are the expressions, are the presentations in the operative forms of sentences. Operative sentence means hope or wish, expression of hope or wish. Finally, we have the last pattern of sentences depending on our attitude or motive of expression. Exclamatory sentences. Exclamatory, which begins which provides wonder of the speaker. We have two structures for exclamatory sentences. One begins with hurrah, alas, or oh, depending on the attitude of the speaker. For example, the speaker is too much excited or pleased with something. He begins his expression or wonder, he expresses his wonder with the word hurrah. If the speaker is shocked, begins with the word alas, and if the speaker is surprised, he begins his wonder expression with the word oh. Hurrah, as I have told, is the expression of the feelings of joy, extreme joy. Hurrah, we have won the game. Alas, he is undone. Oh, this is disgusting. Plus simply assertive sentence. An assertive sentence. There should be a note of exclamation. An assertive sentence. For example, alas, he is dead. Even you need to write a capital letter when you begin the structure of the assertive sentence within that within that exclamatory sentence. Alas, he is dead. Hurrah. You have own. So with hurrah, alas or oh, we have an assertive sentence to present the wonder of the speaker, which is called an exclamatory sentence. And in the second type of exclamatory sentences, we have a beginning with what or how plus what plus noun and how plus adjective. Plus subject plus finite verb, and if necessary there may be, such sentences usually do not have any adverb or adjective. Sometimes there may be a few adverbs in such patterns of sentences. For example, you see, what a big house. Well, this noun or adjective as you are used, such a noun and adjective are used as the complements of the subject. Complements of the subject. So complements in the exclamatory sentences are used before the subject. What a big house it is. It is the subject and a big house is the complement of the subject. Similarly, how big the snake looked. Note of interrogation should be there at the end of the sentence. How adjective, how plus adjective plus subject the snake and looked is the finite verb. How big the snake looked, then if we use the if we add, then we have also an adverb in this sentence. So dear students, thus the end of today's class. For the first time I have taken more than the stipulated time. I always try to complete all my speeches within the fixed time, but today I have failed because I wanted to discuss the things briefly, though in an absolute presentation, in a details presentation. Today I am going to call the end of this class. Before leaving, I once again repeat that you do not have any item of such sentence construction issues in your syllabus, but to understand English language well as to express yourselves correctly, you need to know the structure or construction of different patterns of sentences so that you can make good formal presentation of your moods, attitudes, opinions and wishes. Therefore, I hope today's class will help you to use English language in an easier way. With that hope, I like to call you all. Thank you and goodbye. Stay safe, stay well. Khuda Hafiz.